Michael Core.
Good evening, gentlemen. You know, every opportunity that I've been given to be able to stand in front of you all is a great honor, especially when I'm asked to share what's on my heart. And it used to terrify me. I was never quite sure what I was going to say. But you know, it's as we grow, as we start to have, as I start to have that personal relationship with Jesus, revelation starts to happen. You start to see things in the Spirit. You know, we're born into this world in a carnal state. We see things in a carnal mind. And a lot of it is, what can I get? What can I receive? Thank you, brother. And my brother right here, I love him. You know, that's sacrifice right there. To be able to see a need and step in and to help someone out. Thank you. Thank you. But you know, we tend to see things in that carnal state. And I was reading the other day, and I came across this in Matthew. It's going to be Matthew 20. It's the parable of the landowner and the vineyard. And I wasn't quite sure where God was going to take this one. But you know, the revelation that I got out of it, and this is what we're going to look at, guys, is the revelation that once you start to have that personal one-on-one relationship with Christ, the Word becomes real, spiritually real. We no longer see it in the carnal, but we see it for what the kingdom has for us. What Jesus was really talking about when he talked to us about the kingdom. So those of you, if you want to follow along, Matthew 20, it's going to be verses 1 through 16. And this is actually going to be out of the TPT, the Passion Translation. And that's one of the translations that I tend to use a lot, especially when I'm studying. And you know, it doesn't matter what translation, guys, that you look at, because you know what? No one translation is the absolute of God's Word. All the translations are there to help us understand what God's Word means. Because we don't all see things the same way. We don't all understand things the same way. We all perceive things differently. So don't think one translation is better than the other. Understand they're all there to help us out, to understand and get revelation of what God's Word is all about. So with that, this will help us understand the way heaven's kingdom operates. There once was a wealthy landowner who went out at daybreak to hire all the laborers he could find to work his vineyard. After agreeing to pay them the standard daily wages, he put them to work. Then, at 9 o'clock, as he was passing through the town square, he found others standing around without work, and he told them, "Come and work for me in my vineyard, and I will pay you a fair wage." So off they went to join the others. He did the same thing at noon and around the 3 o'clock hour, making the same arrangement as he did with the others. hoping to finish the harvest that day, he went to the town square around 5 o'clock and found more who were idle. So he said to them, "Why have you been here all day without work?" "Because nobody hired us," they answered. So he said to them, "Then go and join my crew and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard called to his foreman and said, "Call all the laborers, line them up, and pay them the same wages, starting with the most recent ones I hired, and finish with the ones who worked all day." When those hired last in the day came to be paid, they were given a full day's wages. And when those who had been hired first came to be paid, they were convinced that they were going to receive more. But everyone was paid the standard wage. When they realized what had happened, they were offended and complained to the landowner, saying, "You're treating us unfairly. They only worked 1 hour while we slaved and sweated all day in the scorching sun. You've made them equal to us." Really? We've been out here all day long. We've been sweating. But yet, you've made these guys equal to us. Come on, what's this all about? And the landowner replied, "Friends, I'm not being unfair. I'm doing exactly what I said. Didn't you agree to work for a standard wage? If I want to give those who only worked 1 hour equal pay, what does it matter to you? What does it matter to you? I don't have the right to do what I want with what is mine? I don't have that right? Really? Why should my generosity make you jealous of them? It's my generosity, it's my money. Why should that make you jealous of them? This is exactly what the landowner is trying to figure out. Why is this? I'm going to hold off on that 16th verse. And looking at this, especially verses 1 through 5, we see this, and this is how I used to see this. I read through this parable, and I looked at it as, Jeremy, can you bring me down just a little high? I looked at this and I saw it as the financial side. I looked at it as a carnal situation. It's like, really? This is, I actually got a little bit irritated with reading the story. I'm thinking, really? I understand it's this man's money, but I'm out here all day long. I'm out here working. What is this all about? And then finally, last week, it hit me. It actually was while we were in here after what Lakin was saying about what it takes to be a man. And this really struck me. And here's the thing. As we become more spiritual, as we start to walk, speak, live spiritually, when we start to grasp what Holy Spirit is to us, because He is that link to Christ. Jesus left Him here to be our teacher. So we can start to hear what Jesus says. So we can understand the thoughts of God and what He has for us. So all of a sudden it hit me, and it's like, this story is not about the money. This landowner went out just like Jesus did when he started his ministry. And he walked, and he found men and women and said, come follow me. Come on, let's go walk. Let's go talk for a little bit. What did this landowner do? He went out and he found people to work for him. And that's exactly what Christ did. He walked about finding people to come work with him, to start to know who the Father was and what he had for us. And think about it. As he walked, there were always new ones coming out. Every day. Understanding the word. Becoming saved. Becoming disciples. And I was like, oof, wow. You're absolutely right. So, as the story goes along, he goes out at 9 o'clock in the morning, he finds a group of men, they go out and start looking. Then he goes out at noon and 3 and finds more. And they come in and they start to look. And in hoping to be able to get all the crops in, he goes out and finds that last few. But here's the thing that really drew me to that is that last few, and what caught me in that is when the landowner asked, why have you been here all day without work? And the response was, well, nobody hired us. And you know what? That's the same excuse that we use not to follow Christ in the first place. Well, nobody invited me. Nobody asked me. Because the question was, why are you all just standing here doing nothing? We tend to, and I know in my life, I tended to say, well, you know what? Yeah, I've heard about it. But nobody actually asked me to go to church. Nobody really invited me. And nobody really invited me to that whole Christian thing. Nobody asked me. So it's cool, I'll just chill out here for a while. But here's the thing. No matter how long you've been, and that was the thing that the Holy Spirit started showing me was this. Well, let me jump forward a little bit more in this. When it comes to the wages and the landowner telling his foreman, gather them together and go ahead and pay them. Go ahead and pay the ones that came in last. Go ahead and give them a full day's wages. And the ones that have been there all day, give them the same wage. Well, in that, we're thinking, wait a second. I've been doing this all day long. I've been doing this a lot longer. I've been doing this longer than you. And why are they getting the same thing? Well, guess what, guys? Here's what the Holy Spirit revealed to me in this one. Is that the ones that were complaining the most should have stopped to think. Being there and walking with Christ, and it has to do with our relationship with Christ as disciples or as Christians. And I quote this as Christians things because you know what? That word is so overly used, it drives me nuts. We are disciples. Those of us who make that choice to follow Christ, to read, to learn, to follow him, to walk with him, we are disciples. Because Christ didn't say go out and make Christians. He said go out and make disciples. And as disciples, we teach one another. We walk beside one another. There are so many people out there that call themselves Christians. Here's the thing. And I'm not saying this in any way, shape, or form that we shouldn't go out and get people saved. But you know what? We tend to go out and walk up to somebody and say, brother, do you know who Christ is? No? Let me pray with you. And let me, so you can learn how he's, all right, well, you know what? You got it. You're saved. See. Now, what are we doing? He got saved, but now he doesn't know what to do. He's absolutely lost. And now he's wandering around out there. You know how easy it is for someone who has
no teaching and nobody to walk beside him, no brother to arm in arm and walk with him. You know how easy it is for him to slip back into those transgressions that he was doing before? Because he doesn't know any better. He's spirit-filled, but he has nobody to walk with him. And that was the thing. These men that were grumbling and mumbling about, well, excuse me, I worked all day long. I toiled in the sun. I was sweating. Well, guess what? You have been with Christ this whole time, learning from him. That's the whole thing. It's not the money, guys. The story's not about the money and about the wages. The story's about walking with Christ, learning who he is, and not whining and complaining because this brand new baby Christian that just walked in is getting the same rewards that we've all gotten. But you know what? They're getting it because God is the one that's giving it to them. The landowner is God. This is all his. All of it belongs to him. And he will give equal portions to all of us. He does not play favorites with any of us. But those of us who've been in this walk shouldn't be jealous of this one that walks in and gets the same exact blessings that the rest of us get. Because we're the ones that should be walking with them, teaching them, because we've been walking longer with Christ. We understand what it takes. And the thing is you know what? When we arm up with this young brother or sister and walk with them, then they start to become more mature. And so what if they do something greater than we've done? Does it really matter? Because here's the thing. It's not about me anyways. It's not about you. What it's about is that person that you can help succeed. Because, brother, if you succeed, then I succeed. That's what it's about. But yet we forget that. We get jealous. We're like, well, come on, God. I've been doing this a long time. Why can't I get these blessings? Because that's not your blessing. It's not my blessing. My blessing is not the same thing as Pastor Charles' blessing. He's a mighty man of God. I get it. And I've had the privilege to study under him and with him. But you know what? His talent is not my talent. God did not create us equal in that form. He created us equal across the board to have what he has for us. But each one of us, as Pastor Charles has said, stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane. Because God is getting ready to pour out a blessing that he has only for you. And in that, then you can share that with somebody else and help them become a blessing. So it doesn't matter whether you came in first thing in the morning, at noon, at 3, or at 5 o'clock. The fact of the matter is, guys, is that those of us who've been in this thing longer should stop looking at the fact of, well, I should have more than everybody else. Explain to me why you should have more than everybody else. Because it's the carnal mind thinking that we need everything more. And here's the thing. You only are going to have what you are willing to move into. You know the only reason why most of us don't have more than we have now is because we've chosen not to move into it. I've stood up here before you all and talked about choices. Life is a choice, guys. Just like understanding the Word, becoming more spiritual to understand and unlocking the spirit world. Because you know what? That's what we are. This, just flesh and bones, guys. We are spirit. And it's time that we start pushing. It's time that we start walking. It's time that we stop trying and start doing. Become who we are supposed to become. Become that spirit man, woman, child of God. That's what this walk is all about. when we can get out of the lies that we're told about needing to be a number one, needing to be ahead, needing to just grab everything. Enough of the lies. It's enough. It's time to quit believing the lie that we've been told all this time, that you've got to step on your brother to get ahead in life. You know, my brother Jeremy and I were just talking before I came up here, about in certain cultures, the warriors of the tribe. Do you know in some tribes, in some cultures, that when the warrior goes out and takes down the kill, he brings it back in. And you realize he's been out there hunting all day long. He's won the prize and brought it back. But do you know that he's the last one to touch that food? That's sacrifice. Because the children and the women and the elders of that tribe or community come first. That goes back to what we talked about last week. What makes a man? What's the essence of a man? Laying your life down for others. As the covering and the head of your family. That is a huge responsibility. God is the head of all of us. What did he do? He gave the greatest sacrifice so we all could have everlasting life. Amen. Life is about choices. And we have to start looking at the fact that it's not about what we can get. It's about what we can give, because so much has been given to us. It's time to open our eyes and realize that the longer that we walk with Christ, the more responsibility that we have to help raise up our fellow brothers, sisters, family, our wives, our children. It's time to stop being jealous and petty and tearing each other down. For what reason? Because you don't look the same way I do, because you don't drive the same car I do, because you're not as educated as I am, because you don't know all the Bible scriptures that I know, because you've only been doing this a couple of weeks. I know personally in my life, I've seen men and women, freshly born Christians, freshly born disciples that have just given their lives to Christ, that have more Jesus and zeal in them than people have been doing this for years and years and years. Because you know what? We get to a point where we think we know it all, or we've seen it all, and we stop being hungry, we stop reading, we get arrogant. And you know what? That has to stop, guys. Every day that I get up and I say, God, what is it that we can do today? What is it that I can do with you today? Because I realize every day for me now is a new day to do something for the kingdom. Coming from where I came from, and a lot of you in this room know, and there's a few of you that don't. But don't ever judge what you see standing in front of you. Don't ever take that for granted. Because I'm going to tell you what, unless you've walked a day in my shoes, you have no clue what it's been like. Here's the thing. That was my past. What Jesus has done for me since then has been the most incredible walk of my life. Amazing. But here's the thing, guys. Let me just share this one thing with you. 3 years ago, I ran my life through the ground and I died. Okay? I did everything the world had for me. Everything. And that's no joke. And someday I'll give my testimony in this room again. But that's for a different day. But here's the thing. Because of that, I have a new appreciation for life. Now, don't get me wrong. This walk with Christ is not easy. It can be difficult. It can be rough. And don't think that what I've gotten to today was easy. It's not. But it can be easier as we make that choice to focus on and to start living that life that Christ has called us to live. I actually challenge all of you in this room to try it. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? Because you got everything to gain. I mean, I can sit right here and look at men in this room that can give testimonies about financial breakthroughs and family breakthroughs. And, you know, there's 2 or 3 of us in this room that you guys don't know about. They're multi-millionaires right now. But you never know it. You wouldn't know it. But it took something to get there. And that was having faith in who Jesus Christ is and living on his word and understanding. And knocking off this, I'm entitled because I've been here so long, I deserve more. Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. Well, guess what? You're not going to be given anything that you don't first put foot to and move into. Because you know what? I can sit here and pray all day long and ask God for all kinds of things. And I can believe for all kinds of things. And don't get me wrong, God will listen to you and God will answer some of your prayers. But if you want to make a change, then guess what? Get up and go out there and sweat and work and listen and learn. Dig into the Word, because the Word is food. The Word is life. The Word is our payment. That's where you get more. By learning more, then you receive more. So the 16th verse of this story kind of wraps it up. Now you can understand what I mean when I say that the first will end up last, and the last will end up being first. Everyone is invited, but few are chosen. As disciples, as believers in Christ, we have a responsibility to go out and make disciples of everyone else. If they don't know who Christ is, speak to them about it. Share your testimony of what Christ has done for you. Because it's true. The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. It's time that we stop worrying about, am I going to get an equal pay? Am I going to get an equal wage? This is unfair. I'm not being paid, but everyone else is getting paid. But here's the thing, guys. We're getting more than what you think. Because even the blessings that we ask for is not always given to us financially. Things can come to us in ways that we could never understand. Oh, God, give me money so I can go buy a car. God goes, no, you don't need the money to buy a car. Here's the car. Oh, God, give me a better job so I can make more money so I can get a house. No. Here's a house. But the principle is still giving and receive Him. We have to look at these stories that we read as how true they are to life. To get this revelation of what God has got for us, all He's asking for is to just believe in Him. Dig into the Word, guys. Dig into the Word. Read it. Meditate on it. Believe it and start to live it. Let it fill you and become who you are. Because then you see things so much differently. You see them outside of this carnal world. Because here's the thing, guys. All of this stuff that we see right here, this is all made up. This is all imagination. We make this up to try to get through our life, to try to justify why certain things happen to us. But when you can focus on what God says about you, then all the imagination can go away, all this makeup can go away, and you can start seeing what God really has for you. And that's the one thing in my life that I have started to see. Just to close this out, just to give you some encouragement on listening to God in your life, understanding Him, doing your due diligence, reading, trusting, believing, tithing, all of this stuff. January 24th of this year, just before that, I had a conversation with somebody, and I was pretty much at the end of everything. I've been walking with the Lord, I've been with the Lord, and I go to this person, and I start whining and crying, complaining. Oh, poor me. They're treating me wrong. I'm not making enough money. I'm broke. Blah, 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 blah. You know how it gets, guys. We all do it. We all get upset about not being paid right, or not being treated right, we don't have enough money. I need a better job. I need more wages. Okay. So this person listens to me. Very intently. Very intently listens. And we get done. He looks right at me. And he goes, why in the hell are you whining at me right now? Grow up. Step up and take responsibility for yourself. Because you are the only one that can make that choice to get out of this situation. He goes, I can sit here and listen to you. And I can try to help you, but I can't do it for you. It's your choice whether you get out of this and do something about it. And I tell you what, that's not what I expected. I expected that, it'll be okay. Let me go ahead and talk to some people and help you out. But that's not what he did. Well, what he did was exactly what I needed, which was he took that 2x4 and smacked me against the side of the head and said, hey, wake up. You are a king and a priest. You are a man of God. Now stand up and act like a man of God and quit believing the lies that you've been told all this time. Stand up. So 2 weeks after that conversation, I go down to my bank. I walk into the bank. January 16th, I turned 47 years old. On the 24th, I walked in and I walked up to the banker and I said, hey, guess what? I'm 47 years old. I've been banking with you guys for 15 years. I'm broke. I have no savings account. I have no portfolio. I have nothing. So let's sit down and talk. So I sat down and explained everything to this man. And that day, I set up a savings account. I set up a secure checking card, a secure credit card. I got my portfolio started and started moving out down the road. Then I kept speaking life over myself. I started to tithe every week. I wasn't sure how I was going to, but you know what? I did it cheerfully. Even when times got tough, even when I wasn't sure if I was going to make my bills, I still tithed. I didn't whine. I didn't cry about it. Now that was on the 24th of January. Tuesday of this week, which would have been October 23rd, I pulled up my account and I paid some bills. And I took care of this and took care of that. And to my amazement, I actually had some money in my account. And I stopped and went, hold on a second. I reconfigured a couple of things and I looked at some things. And I looked again, and between my credit card, my savings account, and my checking account, I actually had more liquid funds sitting in there than I have had in over 35 years of my life. My point being, guys, is that when we stop whining and crying about being, oh, I've been doing this so much longer than everybody else, why is he getting equal, why is he doing it? Stop. Stand up. Be the king and priest that you are. Stop believing the lies that our enemy is telling us to beat us down. Take your rightful place in the kingdom and start moving forward. It's not going to be super easy, but you know what? It'll be a lot easier when you stop whining about it. You stop making excuses for it, and you start doing it. And you know what? The other thing is don't ever be embarrassed to ask a brother. Because you know what? You might find out that that person went through the same thing. You might be really surprised. Because you know what? The biggest thing that holds us back is fear. And you realize that fear is nothing but a liar. It's a lie that the devil tells us to keep us in bondage. And here's the thing. You might find out that the thing that you were afraid of wasn't that big of a deal anyways. You might be able to just walk into that courthouse or into that DMV or into that loan office or wherever you've got to walk into, your boss's office, and just that quick, the favor of God is all over you. You did exactly what you were supposed to have done in the first place. But here's the thing, guys, you have to make that choice. It's your choice. It's not my choice. It's not anybody else's choice, but it's yours. Are you willing to step forward and take what's yours? Are you willing to stop whining and crying about what everybody else is getting equally? And are you willing to wrap arms with that brother or that sister and walk with them and help them and disciple them and show them that it can be done? No more trying. It's time to start doing. Because doers succeed. Tryers just whine and cry. And with that, you got anything out of it? Let's give the Lord a great applause. Give me a second. We'd be remiss not to, at this time, give everybody that opportunity. If you don't know who Christ is, and you don't have that personal relationship with Him, to have it or to renew your relationship with Jesus Christ. Because I tell you what, it's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do. It'll change your life forever. But you know what? That's the one thing the devil doesn't want us to do. And he'll make every excuse to come across you to not do it. Because once you do it, and once you know who you are and who you belong to, life changes, guys. And it's simple. So if you all bow your heads and just repeat after me, because you know what? It's not this big, long, drawn out thing. It's very simple. Lord Jesus.
Lord Jesus.
I admit that I'm a sinner. And I ask you to come into my life and forgive me. Fill me with your Spirit and make me yours. Amen. And by making that choice, guys, every angel in heaven is rejoicing, and every demon in hell is screaming right now, and the devil is pissed because he just lost another soul. Because now you belong to your Father. You have become a warrior, a king and a priest for the kingdom. I love you guys. And remember, don't keep your mouth shut. Talk to one another. Encourage one another. Help each other out. That's what we're here to do. That's what brothers do. I love you guys. God bless. All right. At this time, you guys want to just try to put on your tables and a little table talk. We've got Jose over here at this table. Got Gary and Richard. And we've got Larry over here. So if you guys over at this table want to move over this way, everybody kind of just get together and let's go ahead and have a little